Hey, what's going on? Ryan here with Intersection Records, and we're talking some more Bob Dylan stuff this week. Last week I did a show about what happened to Dylan's voice. Over the years it changed, and some of the live stuff is croaky and so forth. And one of the comments from Robert Jones was, "Hey, have you checked out the Shadows in the Night album where he does pop standards that Sinatra kind of made famous?" And I briefly listened to it back when it came out in 2015. These are recessions from Capitol Studio, Studio B, where Sinatra was recording back in the 60s. And Dylan was there in 2014. He had a band with French horns and trombone and trumpet and flugelhorns. He also had some of his band, Tony Garnier on upright bass, Charlie Sexton on guitar, and Danny Haran also on pedal steel. They do 10 songs, and what's great about it, it's not the 10 obvious songs that you would do with Sinatra. There's a couple, ones that are more popular than others, but we're going to talk about this. Dylan says, "I don't see myself as covering these songs. I see myself as uncovering these songs because these songs have been covered enough," which is an interesting phrase. He says, "I'm lifting them out of the grave so they can see the light of day." And this is that record here, Shadows in the Night. It's I love when artists cover songs, and it's clear that Dylan knows this material inside and out. He was there just with a microphone in the studio. These songs were recorded live in the studio. They weren't, the band plays an arrangement and Dylan gets in a booth. This is with the band. He didn't have headphones on, no headphones. He didn't want to see mics on the other instruments, so the engineers were hiding these mics. Dylan's voice is way out front, and it's an aging man here, but it's certainly great vocals. The first song is a Sinatra, Jack Wolf, Joel Horan song, "I'm a Fool to Want You." There's longing, there's desperation, there's loneliness. Again, the knowledge of the tunes. When you cover a song and you can make it your own, you have to know that song inside and out. Dylan's a history buff. Dylan loves history. He loves American folklore, and certainly has a love for these songs. And dare I say, gorgeous voice. Perfect voice for this material. The Night We Called It a Day. He actually performed that on Letterman in May of 15. The hoot of an owl in the sky. He invokes some of his highs from the 60s in his voice. There's really nice timbre in his voice. Vocals are really up front. The band's subdued in the back. Stay With Me is the next song, a Jerome Moroz and Caroline Lee song. Steel guitar by Haran. About growing old, cold, and weary. This reminds me a little bit of some of the songs of one of my favorite Dylan albums, 2001's Love and Theft. Songs like Moonlight and By and By and Po' Boy, which is kind of that traditional 30s and 40s kind of tradition of standards. That's the way that he wrote some of those songs on that album. I love that album. Autumn Leaves is the next song, of course, is a famous song that Duke Ellington did and Cannonball Adderley did on his Something Else album. Miles Davis had it as part of his 60s set in the early 60s. Again, these are standards in the pop world from the earlier 20th century. Almost a tale of the Beauty and the Beast. These are love songs that you could sit around on a first date with, or with your wife, and have a bottle of wine and a nice meal and have it on the background. And vulnerability wins out here. The beast is singing this song, and he's able to woo the beauty, you know, because he's so honest. It's beautiful. The honesty wins the day, and so does the vulnerability in the voice. The next one, Why Try to Change Me, is a Cy Coleman and Joseph McCarthy song. A little bit more nasally in the voice. You know, at 73 years old, Dylan has the #1 album in the UK with this record. He also, and that which was a record, as Paul Simon later broke that record, but he also had a gap of 51 years between #1 songs. #1 albums. From 1963's Free Will and Bob Dylan, one of my favorite albums, to 2015's Shadows in the Night Again. Sexton has a really nice solo on that song. Some Enchanted Evening, Oscar Hammerstein and Roger and Richard Rodgers and Hammerstein. You know, again, he's not trying to cover these songs like Sinatra would do. He's listening to the emotion and the intention of what Sinatra would do, and then he's making them his own. And of course, he has to make it his own, probably in his mind, certainly. And there's no way to replicate the Sinatra sound, but you can get the idea of what emotions are trying to be evoked here. And again, not mimicking anyone. You know, there's just tenderness that's real. Full Moon and Empty Arms is next. A Buddy Keys, Ted Mossman song. Dylan, you know, sees himself in these tunes, and it's clear that he's taking on the persona of this longing and weary man, who is desperate for love, desperate to not be lonely anymore. You know, he's in character here. It's wonderful. Every kiss could start a dream for two. Every kiss could start a dream for two. Yeah, it's beautiful. Where Are You's next. Harold Adamson and Jimmy McHugh song. You know, just another long line of songs that are great. The next one, What'll I Do, is an Irving Berlin song, more of an open-throated song, you know. Just a Photograph, Tell Me My Troubles, too. You know, he's tortured. It's a tortured man that he's portraying, and it really works. I really like this. The last song is That Lucky Old Sun. It's got more of a big band feel. He goes for big notes. He's confident. It's reminiscent of some of his classic era voicings and confidence. Anyway, I want to thank Robert for the suggestion. I'm going to do more Dylan stuff. I'm familiar with most of the albums. There's a couple 80s albums that I don't know quite as well. But we're going to do Dylan shows on a more regular basis. At some point, I'll rank the album catalog. Check out my channel, subscribe, like these videos, share these videos. Peace out. Have a good weekend. See you.